Okay, I would like to begin today's meeting by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are gathered and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Good morning everyone and welcome to the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting of the 18th of July 2023, and I declare this meeting open at 9 o'clock. I'd like to advise attendees in the room that this meeting is being webcast and audio recorded. Now, we move on to leave of absence. Councillor Jeremiah has submitted a leave of absence. And there'll be a motion on the board. Is there a mover for this motion? Councillor Kransky has moved the motion. Into block. Councillor has seconded the motion. Do any councillors wish to speak to the motion? I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. And that was carried unanimously. Perfect. Okay, now I note that Councillor Lane, Councillor Russell, Councillor Raven and Councillor Hall aren't in the room at this time. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hall is, I'm sorry. I believe there's a bit of traffic at the moment, so they hopefully will be here very soon. So I now refer to declarations of conflicts of interest. Do any councillors wish to declare a conflict of interest against any reports on today's agenda? No? Okay. There being none, I now refer to the reports on today's agenda. Yep. Before we enter into reports, the DA Manager, Stephen Ball, has no reports to consider. Therefore, can I ask if there's any GB for Stephen? Okay, there being none, Stephen, do you have any GB for us?
Through the Chair, no I don't.
Wonderful. You can carry on with your day. Thank you. All right, so I now move on to the first report, which is item 5.1, the Logan Recycling Market Trading Hours. This is a public report, and I ask the Director of the Growth Economy and Sustainability, Ms. David Hanson, to speak to the report.
Thank you, Chair. I'll hand over to Michael to present the report.
Thank you, Michael. You may proceed.
Thanks, Dave. Good morning, Madam Chair and councillors. So the Waste Program's recently undertaken a review of customer activity across the Browns Plains Waste and Recycling Facility, and that's identified that we have staff committed in the Logan Recycling Market at times and on days where customer activity is consistently low. The peak time for customers is between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and accordingly this report proposes that the trading hours change to these hours only, and if this report is supported, we would therefore close the recycling market after 3 p.m. and on Mondays. The benefit of this is that we can actually redeploy these staff to other parts of the facility where they would be better utilised. Those areas include the green waste and recycling drop-off areas, where they will be able to assist customers and ensure that items are dropped off appropriately in the facility. So in summary, it's really an exercise in efficient use of staffing resources on site to align resources where they're needed most. I don't envisage any financial impacts given that we expect the same sales revenue to be generated within the new opening times of the LRM. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. Do we have any questions? Councillor Fraser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question. So people get up at 30 to go to markets and things like that and purchase things at garage sales quite early. Have we ever had the recycling market open a bit earlier in the past, or is this just standard usual sort of operating times for things of such nature as that?
That's right. Similar facilities across South East Queensland have similar opening hours. I think regardless of what time we open the doors, there will be people lined up from early doors to be the first in line. So the 10 a.m. opening time has been that ever since I can remember, and I've been here 18 years nearly. So yeah, I wouldn't propose any change to the opening time.
Okay. Any further questions? No? Perfect. Okay, so we have a motion on the board. Do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Bannon moved the motion. Councillor Murphy seconded the motion. Do any councillors wish to speak to the motion? Perfect. I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. And that was carried unanimously. Perfect. Thank you. I will now pass over to Councillor Raven.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stemp. Apologies for my tardiness. The 40 minutes to travel 10 kilometres up Kingston Road was a good trip. Alrighty, councillors, we're on to item 5.2, which is the Logan Riverine Discovery Centre project update. Mr. Asnikar, you're going to speak to this one?
Yes, I will.
Thank
you, Mr. Chairman. So this report provides an update on the scope of work that can realistically be delivered with the just over $5 million of budget currently available for the RDC project. Noting that the scope of the building would need to be reduced from what we had envisaged to have been being able to have delivered in late 22, primarily due to escalating building costs. The report will seek council direction on whether it supports a $1.5 million increase to the budget to deliver the full stage 1 works as originally proposed, to get the full benefit of the RDC for the community and schools, and to reduce the likely timing and cost increases to deliver subsequent stages if we were to reduce the scope. I'll just go to the presentation now. So what we did set out to deliver in the stage 1 of the Riverine Discovery Centre was this concept here. So it was a full slab and full roof. The interpretive centre, which is this bit in the middle, which would include a reception area, an office, amenities. We would relocate the dog park that's currently in this area further to the north. Obviously the full services of wastewater and electricity, a graded internal road and coach and accessible parking. So that's what we intended to deliver. Exclusions at that stage was the pontoon and access way, no cafe fit out, and no multi-space community fit out. So these two ends of the building would be serviced. So the services would be provided up through the slab, but the actual fit out wouldn't be undertaken at this stage. No mezzanine and viewing deck, and no solar. So that's what we intended to deliver. It's a few more schematic designs. So with the $5 million we have available to us, we've done some further cost modelling given current construction costs, and this is what we would have to reduce from that in order to meet the $5 million budget. So you can see the actual scope of the building would have to be reduced by 2/3, so that end would disappear, reduce design contingency, use more budget-friendly materials and simpler design, columns, roof. So those finishes would be of very basic quality. We'd remove the riverside stairs and ramp, remove external lighting, remove the mounted electrical transformer, reduce the coach parking from 2 spots to 1, reduce the number of accessible parking down to 2, no water tanks, very simple stormwater features, obviously an overall reduction in the size of the footprint and reduction in the preliminaries. So a few more concepts of the reduced scope. So that's the cafe end area. So the bit we have to omit would be the community space. And that's just a plan showing the interpretive space. That end would disappear, and just imagine that's an actual rectangle. Oh, that's the slab. So that's not the roof, that's the slab shape. The slab would remain that shape. The roof would be rectangular on top of it. So that's the overall plan. And I might just pause there. It might be useful to have a discussion on that, and then I can get into the actual walkthrough of the interpretive space and what that might look like. Or I'm happy to do it now if you want me to.
Councillors, do you want to do questions now on the change of design, or do you want to wait till the end of the prezzo? End of the prezzo, mate.
End of the prezzo. Okay, so the actual interpretive centre itself, here's a sort of a conceptual walkthrough of what that would look like. So that would be the entryway. So a mountains to mangroves, a riverine discovery type theme, of course. It would be fitted with a lot of static as well as, you know, depending on budget, of course, electronic kind of interactive displays. Orientate through the Logan and Albert River catchments. Obviously, a lot of information in relation to riverine habitat as well as broader habitats across the Logan Albert catchment. So just a few more concepts there. So a lot of tactile type displays as well. There's a quiet pod area, so this is where, you know, sometimes in these areas you have those movies playing where you can go into a bit of a quiet space, a quiet play area, room for books. Again, depending on budget, large interactive type digital displays, hands-on, you know, audio pod type displays, kids activity station, and then you're done. So thanks, Mr. Chair. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Michael. I'll start with the Divisional Councillor, Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, through the Chair. Thank you, Michael, for your presentation. I'm super excited about this actual project, obviously, because it's in my area. From what I can see on your slide and your presentation, everything with inside the building is still the same.
Within the interactive, within the interpretive centre, that's correct.
Yep, and it's just the outside that is dramatically reduced. Is that correct?
Primarily, that's right, yeah.
And I know that I've spoken to Mr. Canapi with regards to the dog off leash area, and hopefully we can work some stuff out with that. However, I know that you're only asking for $1.5 million additional to get you where you are, but has there been costing done to get us to the full drawings as well? And do you know what that would be?
There has been, but I don't know. Can we answer that question, the full costing?
Based on 2021 costs, it's around.
Yeah, so we're talking 2021 costs, and it was around 12 million for that very high-end finalised design, which had the mezzanine roof, the lift, the cafe, all of the embellishments in and around the facility. Around 12 plus inflation. I'd probably put that little disclaimer on it.
So when we applied for funding through the state government and we were successful in that, the figures that we used, what year were those costings done at?
Yeah, so that application through to the state government was based on a very conceptual schematic design at the time. We just saw an opportunity to apply for funding for this particular project, even though the actual detail of the concept was still, you know, quite a way away. We were working on some very, very preliminary designs, which actually, you know, had the thing up on stilts looking over the water. We've had to do a lot of design modifications since then to take into account things like flooding and best positioning and those types of things. So, if anything, we were, you know, enthusiastic in applying for this. It was a project that was mentioned in the destination management plan as well as our Logan vision documents. So we applied on the basis of conceptual drawings. When we got to the detail, that's when we had that better realisation of the budget for that bigger process.
I suppose, Michael, what I'm trying to get at is, since then, everybody knows that the cost of building, concrete, design work, labour, etc., has gone up 30%.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering my questions. I'm in favour of supporting this report. I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, that we maybe even look at more, but that's up to the rest of the council. Thank you.
You think about it if you want to put an amended motion forward, Councillor Murphy. In the meantime, I'll ask Councillor Stemp to speak to her questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. So, Michael, with the plan that's up at the moment, the other end, obviously, because the cafe is proposed to go in at that end, and so that would mean we would effectively lose an outdoor community space. Is that correct? When that goes in the future?
The cafe would sit in here with tables and chairs out there.
Yep.
This would be enclosed into another community space.
All right. So basically,
at the moment, with the if this recommendation is supported, we
Yes.
could build that piece of we couldn't enclose it, but we
Yep.
can build the roof and the slab.
Okay, so this 1.5 million will enable us to do both ends, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and we
that
would
will-
then retrofit
Yep.
the bits within those two
Yes.
ends at a later stage.
So, and it's much more cost efficient to do it that way now than try and put that on at the end, obviously. If we did that in the other section in the future, that would be a lot
Well,
more
that's
costly.
right. So if we built 2/3 and then we needed
Yep.
to come back and extend the slab and extend the roof,
Yep.
we would obviously pay the cost of that in the future, but we
Sure.
would also have to, I suspect, close the facility for
Sure,
a period
do
of
that
time
as
as well.
well.
So there
Yeah.
would be that. That's
All
why
right.
I mentioned the timing impact.
Okay, and so we effectively get that for 1.5, for the additional 1.5?
For the additional
Yes.
1.5.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you, Councillor Stem. Mayor Powell.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Look, I've got to be honest with you, I'm not excited about this. The cutback is quite severe. I've always said if you're going to do something well, great, but if you're not, don't bother. My concern also is it's only July and you're already asking for money out of budget amendment of $1.5 million. If you keep going like this, by the time we get to next year, you won't have the money that you'll need. Things are getting worse. Electricity's going up. Construction costs, as you see, are going up. I am concerned about the way we're spending money. I've always said that. As you know, I said that in the budget. I won't be supporting this. It's something we can live without. I think we should be back to basics. I think that you need to, realise that there are other issues about that's probably going to demand more money. This is July. We're in July, and you're already asking 1.5. You're going to have some really incredible decisions to make in the next 12 months. Things are going up that dramatically. I'm just saying, on my priority list, this is not it. We'll be back in here for more budget amendments, and they'll be a lot more important than this. Okay, so I'll leave it at that. But you've got the numbers. When I say that, it's up to all of you to make that decision. So I'll leave it with.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've got myself, Councillor Bradley, Councillor Karansky, and just keying off the Mayor's comment there, Michael, why is this coming up now instead of being in the last budget cycle? Like, why is it coming so hot on the heels of a fresh budget?
It's purely just a timing issue. We just hadn't had the updated costings available to us as part of the budget process. I mean, we're in a position where we can go to tender based on one of these two designs. We just need direction on which design council would like to take it.
Great. And is there any opportunity for the state government to tip in more? Like, are there grants that still apply to this, or can we hit them from the waste levy because it's environmental?
Look, we're always on the lookout for any other grant opportunities. I don't know that there's anything particularly hot on the horizon right now, where there's opportunities, the whole idea was to build the stage one and then seek grant funding to deliver the remaining stages as budget and grants become available.
My concern about not supporting the 1.5 is that you lose 2/3 of the building footprint, but only about 20% of a discount to achieve that. It'll always cost more to build this 2/3 of building footprint later. Like, it's not getting any cheaper, like the Mayor said, exactly what the Mayor said. So if you don't build it now, it will definitely cost ratepayers more to build it later, and it's nowhere near being a good point to finish it at, because the footprint that was designed for this was designed to be as efficient as possible. So the slab was done all in one hit. I'm sure Councillor Bannon can tell you the importance of that. And the roof was all done in one hit, so it would be cheaper later to keep building on this and be more efficient for the ratepayer in the long term. So while yes, $1.5 million now is $1.5 million that we don't have, it'll cost us much, much more to do this again later as another stage entirely separately, which is why I think it's a good idea to do this now, because we did decide this was the most efficient way to stage it and to get maximum benefit out of doing the structural work first and then coming back to do the bells and whistles at another time and in the future, if we want to go that far, but still having usable spaces for the community in the meantime, rather than having something that I agree, Mr Mayor, if you chop the end off it, it's pretty unimpressive even for $5 million. Whereas this will actually show people what we will build to in the future and what can be used in the meantime. I've got Councillor Bradley, Councillor Kerensky, and then Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. Through the chair, as the costs have gone up, I have been working with officers about different projects and changing the scope, etc., because you just can't get what you used to be able to get for money. Have you thought about, like you're saying, this is stage one? Have you thought about dividing stage one into even further, so that you have an opportunity then to apply for other funding, because there is a state election coming up next year. So there will be opportunities going forward, I should say.
Yeah, so I guess that's really what we're talking about here. It's dividing that stage one up into sub-stages, and those sub-stages are effectively removing these elements from stage one and removing that third of the building. So
I heard that, but I'm within budget. Are you able to divide it even further so you stay within budget, but you achieve the overall aim in the long run?
So this concept here is within existing budget. We can deliver that.
I understand, but you've removed the other things you said.
We've removed that, yeah. We've excluded these
So you haven't
elements.
actually allowed for that for future stages. That's what I'm talking about. Are you able to divide it even further so that you stay within the budget, but you have the overall plan of what you want to achieve in future stages?
Okay, so if I understand, so the question is, can we deliver this, remove other elements to at least get the slab and the roof? I think we're now starting to talk about removing the interpretive bit in the middle, which, turns into a roof and a slab, and maybe put a few posters in there. That's probably where we'd end up. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you, Councillor.
A good
That was a good answer, mate.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillor Kerensky, then Councillor Wilcox, and Councillor Bannon.
Thank you. I'm disappointed that we weren't able to consider this in the budget cycle so that we could leverage this against other projects. I understand the timing issues, but we're going to have a whole myriad of these, I think, coming up over the course of the coming year. I will be supporting this project today. And the recommendation of the officers, for the reason that we've been talking about the Logan River Vision, the Albert River Vision, the entire time I've been a councillor, and trying to create opportunities for us to connect with the river and provide educational facilities for the community. I respect that the officers are trying to give us what maximum bang for the buck, but also provide us with an opportunity to build on to this facility later on in the fullness of time. So I see this as a step. I think if we get to a point now as councillors where we pull the pin on all the projects that are in the pipeline because they're blowing out in terms of cost, we actually won't be providing anything, because we've had 30% cost increase across council. We are in a bit of a bubble, and this won't be the only project that comes before councillors, and I think that we need to keep progressing and keep moving forward, albeit conservatively, but keep moving forward. So you'll have my support today.
Thank you, Councillor Kerensky. Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you very much. Just checking on an email that we got from you in April, Michael. Are we currently in the construction procurement phase? Is that why it's coming back now? Okay, all right. So when will it be completed? Will it still be on track? If this is all to go through today, is it still on track to be constructed by June 24?
I think I suspect it, well, depending on weather, we still have a timeline that intends to hit that. If we can get direction today and then ratified next week, we'll get going on that process, and I'm sure we'll be there or thereabouts. Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Bannon and Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Council might go up 30%, construction industry's gone up 60 to 70%, timber's gone up 70%, concrete's probably 70% as well. It was weird for me that you even included dropping that roof off, because if you're doing something, first thing you do is your structural. First thing you'll build slab, load bearing, that's the first thing you have to build. Internal fit out can be done in stages, as many as you want, but that roof and that slab you'd have to do straight up, because it's load bearing, it's crazy to cut it in half. So to me, you're going to have to build it. it's crazy not to do all your structural stuff straight up. So I would have been the other way, not even mentioned the cut in half off, which I had to. But yeah, crazy not to build the whole thing structurally. Internal fit out, you can do in little blocks to make it how you want. But that load bearing and that structure, you'd have to have that. That's your base. You've got to get that done. So yeah, I'll support it.
Thank you, Councillor Ben, and Councillor Lane and Councillor Fraser.
Thanks very much to you, Mr Chair. Michael, I asked you some questions offline, which is, will all the plumbing for the additional services go in as the slab goes in? And your answer was?
Yep, all the services will be ready to go.
Yep, so when we're ready to fund the second sections, we can actually go ahead without having to dig a slab and
No breaking concrete, nothing like that. It'll be...
That's no worries. Now, we ended up with a small surplus out of the budget, and I think that this is a good use of that money, so I'll be supporting it today.
Thank you, Councillor Lane, Councillor Fraser, and then I'll let Councillor Murphy wrap up if no one else wishes to speak.
Thank you, Mr Chair. The component that is omitted, the solar system, how much would that cost? Because I'm a little bit surprised that has been removed. Being a environment centre, really, it makes sense to have that. Plus, you spend a bit of money on solar, you get your money back over a few years anyway, because of as long as it's a big system, it'll just cover all the costs for electricity and that. So, yeah, just how much would the solar system be?
Yeah, Councillor, I may need to take that one offline. I just don't have the specific drill down line items unless... Yep, Arnold's on standby. 50,000? $50,000.
Are we able to drop that in? Because that would make the place so awesome then, eh? You've got water tanks, solar, makes perfect sense, but it is up to us, I suppose. And yeah, we'll be supporting this additional money, and if everyone else is willing, I would support the solar too, because 50 grand's 50 grand, and we'll get it back pretty quickly, hey?
Yeah, I mean, the payback on solar is typically, 5 to 7 years, looking at some of the projects that we've done previously. So, yeah, that would just mean that our ask would need to be topped up.
I'll let you consider that, councillors, just whether you want to spend $50,000 now, because it is 7 years on the repay. Right, so yes, you do start getting money back straight away, but it's 7 years on the repay, which you may get better tech in the meantime when you're doing another stage of the fit out, that's all. Councillor Hall, and then Councillor Murphy to finish.
Yeah, look, I'm actually tending the side of the mayor on this one. Way back when we first envisioned this project, we were kind of sold on the idea of it being this big grandiose structure, that it was going to be, an attraction just by its visual appeal. And now it seems that we're cutting right back on that, and I almost feel like we may just end up with a tin shed on a concrete slab, and that's definitely not what I want. I know that's not what the community wants, but I'm thinking, maybe it's time that we perhaps start tightening our belt, as the mayor has said. And if we can't deliver these projects to the scale that what we were originally sold on, then should we really be delivering them? I just feel like, unless we can get it to the stage where it was originally, explained to us, is it really worthwhile doing it? Perhaps we could invest that money somewhere else. That's all I'd like to say. Thank you. No question.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillors, I will finish with Councillor Murphy, and then I'll test Councillor Fraser's suggestion. But actually, I'll start with the recommendation. If the recommendation fails, I'll test Councillor Fraser's suggestion. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, through the chair. Today, I just want to say that there's a bigger picture than this. Within my division, I'm wrapped around by the two rivers, and I am using the riverine strategies. There is a lot within this, and this is one little section of that whole planning. So you've got Distillery Road, the Rum Distillery, this possibly, Oliver's, the Red Bridge, they're all wrapped around the river, and it all plays part. This is just one little key point. And I believe the officers have done a great job in able to get this to staging. And yes, Councillor Bannon is right to do the actual structural stuff so that we can go and do those stages if there's more funding available. So I would like to move this report when you're ready.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Murphy has moved the recommendation as it stands, which will be on the screen in a moment. And I hear Councillor Bennon is seconding that motion. Can I please see a show of hands to support the motion as it stands on the screen? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That has been carried. Councillors who did not support the motion, can you please indicate why? Councillor Power?
Against.
Councillor Hall?
Against.
Councillor Fraser?
Against, because I wanted solar.
I understand. Thank you very much. Councillors, that motion has been carried. We'll now move on to item 5.3. Sorry, before we do that, do any councillors have any GB for the manager? Michael, Councillor Lane.
Recently, we had an issue where we had wheelie bins that had been left out continuously on streets and not creating a very nice amenity. And there were certain streets where it literally looked appalling. Your team went in and exchanged graffiti bins and damaged bins for fresh ones. They numbered them. They let the residents know that if they weren't brought in and maintained in a proper manner, that there could be ramifications. And as a result, that street in particular has seen an upswing in its, people being a bit happier about living there. So thank you very much to your team, and I hope that you follow through on the other locations that we've raised, and that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Lane. Collaborative effort between my team, local laws, Cleanaway, and I think it's really apparent the outcome that delivered. So we've got the hit list, and we will work methodically through those.
We don't call it a hit list, we call it an area of concern. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Michael. I just wanted to say thank you to you and your team. We have curbside collection happening in Eagleby at the moment, and you know how much I love that. However, the team have been out, they've scouted around, they've looked at the opportunities if they needed to clean up areas beforehand. But thankfully, my community this time has been quite respectful, done the right thing, and I think the flyers that you have been putting out prior to the curbside collection that commences is working. So congratulations to the team. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Keep up the great work, Michael. I was going to say, do you have any GB for us?
Mr Chairman, just councillors might be aware of this. Yesterday, the state government announced free flu vaccinations for all Queenslanders. So that's in response to the high influenza B rates. So that lasts up until the 31st of August. We have only had 2 customers prepay for flu shots, so we will refund those 2 customers. And we are expecting, of course, an increase in customers at our immunisation clinics, and we'll resource up accordingly over the course of the next few weeks to keep up with that expected demand. So just a notification on that one.
Great work. Thanks, Michael. No further GB from you. I'll call David Radich, the Manager for Economic Development and City Planning, to come and speak to item 5.3. I'll just give him a moment to take a seat with Ella in a fantastic blue suit. The item 5.3 is the Facade Improvement Program Round 2. It looks like Ella's going to be presenting this report, so I'll skip straight past Dave. Ella, take it away.
Through the chair, thank you very much. The purpose of this report is to provide a bit of an update on the Facade Improvement Program Round 2, and also to make a recommendation on the future of the program. Following the City Centre Summits, enhancing Logan's building facades and streetscape was a key priority for the community. From the Logan Central Implementation Fund, we've allocated $40,000 towards encouraging landowners and businesses to invest in facade improvements, and Council then also endorsed the Facade Improvement Program with an allocation of budget to incentivise property owners to improve their building facades and shop fronts with the aim to revitalise our centres, encourage public-private partnerships, and to enhance the amenity of our centres across the city. The first round of the program was launched in early 22 and focused on the smaller centres. And following this first round, we had a number of 15 applications approved, of which 9 has now been acquitted and 1 was withdrawn. We learned some lessons from round 1 and applied that to the changed program for round 2. and focus the attention to the larger centres, Springwood, Beenleigh, Logan Central and Meadowbrook, and then also specifically encourage applications to capitalise on nighttime economy across the city. Council also increased our contribution from $5,000 to $10,000 to incentivise higher impact applications. In round 2, we've launched the program early in February with an extended application period between February and May, and a total of 17 applications were received during this period. Of these, 2 were ineligible and another 2 were not considered because of further clarifications deemed it also not eligible applications. And following round 2, we've awarded funding allocation of over $46,000 to incentivise building facade improvements. There were no eligible applications received in Logan Central, unfortunately. From round 2, there were some key lessons. The level of interest was significantly less than round 1. There was a strong trend of business uncertainty following COVID-19, and especially in places like Beenleigh, where there was additional uncertainty around the railway upgrades. The design quality, similar to round 1, was not of a very high standard. And in terms of value for money, we've seen a slight decline in terms of the total project outcomes that we received under round 2. So while we sought to attract greater interest in the larger centre with more ambitious facade improvements, the round 2 didn't result in these high quality applications. So based on our learnings from the facade improvement program to date, it is our recommendation to have a more targeted approach and expand the program to a more broader placemaking incentive program that will be an ongoing program and not just open for certain periods of time. So therefore, we will propose to expand the program to include outcomes from the nighttime economy strategy, the urban design framework, the urban arts strategy, include incentives around footpath dining to provide catalyst funding for investment in placemaking across the city, and then also get these private-public partnerships going. So it's recommended to transfer the remaining budget from the program to this future program, and that the budget remaining from Logan Central Implementation Fund be transferred to other placemaking projects currently underway, like the Croydon Road Streetscape project. Any questions?
Thank you, Ella. I have a question from Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much to you, Mr. Chair. Ella, I want to thank you and your team. The work that you did up in the Croydon Road precinct is quite substantial, and I know that you spoke with a number of business owners up there. Unfortunately, those business owners don't actually own the property in which they're located in, and so the owners are the ones who definitely are not in any way, shape or form attempting to uplift the area, which is very disappointing because those investments surely should be something that they should be considering. Again, I think if we were able to go to the renters and actually say, hey, would you like this, the uptake would be quite significant, but unfortunately that's not the case. So I just want to say thank you to you and your team. I know that you've gone around and knocked on every door down there. You've worked with businesses to see what can be done, but unfortunately the owners of those properties aren't coming forward and spending a dollar. So shame on them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Any further questions on the report? Would someone like to move the recommendations, which will be on the screen in a moment? Thank you, Councillor Lane, seconded by Councillor Murphy. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you very much, councillors. That brings us to the end of the Economic Development and City Planning reports. Councillors, do you have any general business for the manager? Dave, do you have any general business for us?
No, I do not.
And would anyone like to put Big Dave Hanson, on the spot as the director? No, great work. The meeting is, I declare the meeting closed at 9:39. The City Infrastructure Committee meeting will begin in 10 minutes at 9:49. And thank you again to Councillor Stent for covering me in my absence.